Values, baseball values on Twitter, and go to the website. I have it bookmarked on my phone. I just put the icon down there on the front page when I want to play around and go through a trade simulation. You guys can search my trades too, balls and gutters. I'm on there every trade season, every off season, just trying to figure out what we can get. And I'll be honest, I feel like I think like our GMs because I'm looking for weird ways to get surplus values, like the Lau one where they had a little bit of a contract, so we were able to not give as many because I'm greedy with prospects in my mind. We small market teams, we got to cling onto those things like crazy. Hey there, welcome back to the Balls and Gutter podcast. Mike Bradley, Balls and Gutters from Twitter. We're very lucky this week to have a special guest, John Bitzer from baseballtradevalues.com and all of the interesting things that are on his website as far as trade related and value related. I guess it's not just trades, it's more than that. And we'll discuss that. But thanks for coming on, John. I know we both have had this heat wave related things. I know you guys had powers outages. We had air conditioning leaking in our ceiling. We had to get up and reroute some drainage pipe to prevent drywall from coming down on our second floor. So I don't know, I can't complain about warm. I prefer warm to cold, but this has been a lot here. So
That time of year.
yeah. So anyways, so I know you know a lot more about baseball than trades. Just listening to your podcast, you and Josh Iverson, talking about things related to trades and the business of baseball. So I was trying to think of a business topic that you and I could talk about that's a little bit adjacent, kind of like an appetizer conversation. And the one thing I wanted to talk to you about was expansion. We haven't expanded in baseball in a while. I'll argue we're kind of ripe for expansion, and just as far as how global baseball is becoming, we're getting prospects coming from Africa now. I mean, there's Europeans that's not that new, but then different Asian nations, we're getting people from China, and we have Brazilian baseball players, and I just think all these things and the talent coming out of the Dominican and Venezuela, I would think that we could argue that there's enough baseball players to add, let's say, two more teams. Have you
Yeah.
put any thought into like if we should expand or how do you see it happening? And is that
Yeah.
something you and Josh have ever talked about?
We haven't really much. We might have alluded to it once in a while, but I just sort of think it's inevitable because you got 30 teams right now. Other sports, I like the evenness of the number 32, where you can kind of start to think about how it might shape out with like 4 times 8 or 8 divisions of 4, whatever. And it feels like it's inevitable because of the money, frankly, and knowing what I know about the business of baseball. Every team is incentivized because they get a piece of that pie. Because if you're a new team, you got to get your investors together. You got to put some money in the pot. Then the pot gets distributed to everybody else. So everybody's like, "Hey, free money." So I think it's inevitable from that point of view.
Do you think the players would be more in favor of expansion than the owners? I mean, the owners, I think you hit it pretty much in the head as far as another two pots, and to draw funds from revenue from fan bases, go from probably making minor league teams, major league teams, and getting those fan bases into the. But I'm trying to think of, is there a reason players? I don't think they would dislike having another 52 jobs, right? But maybe a lot of those jobs would be more replacement level jobs. I don't know. I don't know how the
Yeah,
labor.
the upside I could see is more for like a veteran player who may be on the cusp of a roster, who might find himself, with, hey, I can get a first base job over there, whereas I'm on the bench over here. That I think would appeal. The other thing that comes to mind is I was just talking about earlier was you have to be careful about where you put. Let's say there's two teams. You have to be careful because they're going to encroach on existing territory. So if you put a team in Portland, Oregon, for example, the Mariners will go, "Hey, that's our territory." If you put a team in Nashville, you'll get the Reds and the Braves saying, "Hey, I thought we had Nashville." And so there's always that problem, which it might dilute their territory a little bit. And so I think they have to work out those issues. Every time there's even a move, I think that becomes an issue. So, yeah, they got to be careful about that.
Yeah. Do you think there's a chance they could do an international team, like a Mexico City? Or I know they try some of that with the international games. That the only ones that would make sense is throwing another one back in Canada or
Right.
Mexico City. I
Right.
just don't know how that would work. So
Yeah, and I think the only other issue I can think of with that is travel because that's kind of a logistical issue. I'm not sure how far away Mexico City
I
is
don't
from
either.
some
Yeah,
teams,
never been there. Saw it on
but I
TV.
know just having a team in the Northwest like Seattle, they travel more than anybody else, and that kind of take its toll. That's kind of a hidden sort of thing, and sometimes free agents don't want to go to a team that's like that far away because they're always in a plane. So I don't know. I'm not an expert on that, but I think that's an issue.
Yeah, maybe that would incentivize a team closer to Seattle than maybe Salt Lake City's. Maybe
Yeah.
not from some of the reasons of I don't know how well they draw. I have no idea as far as which minor league franchises draw the most or whatever. But maybe that getting a team closer to Seattle that may be a benefit there. So, but yeah, and I was just thinking because with the CBA coming up and the different issues. Last episode, I talked to Joe Doyle about draft-related things. We could have a whole podcast talking about the different angles of the CBA, what the players want, what the owners want. But I wonder if expansion is on the table for, and who would put it on the table? Would it be the players? Would it be the owners? Is it just the elephant in the room? Like hey guys, we got to address this because I think we're to the point.
Yeah, I think my read of it is that the owners are more the ones that are driving it because they want that pot of money, and that's a big driver for them all the time.
Yeah,
So, yeah, I don't think the players are opposed to it because, as you said, that's 52 more jobs, and it's a point in favor of hey, if a veteran could possibly be a starter there. So,
oh yeah, no,
yeah.
I hear you. I hear you. Well, it's yeah. I think you and I are both on the same page with as far as expansion and then expansion. I don't know. I think an expansion draft would be kind of fun just to see how that would work and maybe
Yeah.
like a better Rule 5 draft. Just cut. Go down to. Were you aware enough about roster dynamics the last time we had an expansion draft? Do you remember what we did? Like I wasn't that plugged in. Did
I
we just say?
wasn't either at the time. I understand that they have to protect a certain amount of players and then leave unprotected, and then
Yeah.
that's the way it always works, right? So,
Yeah.
so in the beginning, the new teams get kind of the secondary, second tier, second or third tier of the players to
Yeah.
start with, and then they build
Yeah.
up from there.
I'm wondering if it would be something like 35 or 32 or something like that that they didn't have to be allowed to protect. But I
Yeah.
did see in the most recent CBA proposal, the players asked for a couple extra roster spots. I think they were looking for maybe 28. Did you see that happen? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And with the stipulation on like pitchers early in the part of the season or something like that. I mean, I don't know. I mean, that's something I'd give the players if I was the owners. That's a pretty easy and
Yeah.
not too much skin off their teeth, I wouldn't think. So, but
Yeah, presuming they're going to be like, league minimum players, which, is around
normally,
8K right
yeah,
now.
carry a third catcher, an extra relief pitcher or two, something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
So, I asked John Mayo one time about why we don't see more six-man rotations, and he thinks the Players Association would use that as a leverage to get an extra roster spot. Like if GMs say like, "Hey, we want to have a six-man rotation," they would say like, "Well, you better add an extra spot to the MLB roster." And so I never thought that would be a negotiating tool, but I guess it is. So
Yeah, and it's bubbling up a little bit as an issue because you got the Mariners are doing this piggyback thing because they've
yeah,
got too many starters and they're trying to get them work.
yeah,
The Dodgers are always a strange case because they got Otani as kind of that guy that goes back and forth, and then you've got your regular ones, but then again they're always injured, so they're always mixing and matching there. But it seems like when they're all healthy, they would embrace that whole concept.
no, yeah, yeah. So that's pretty cool. Well,
Hmm.
let's talk about your. I guess you can call it an invention because you're the actual one that made it a product that for people to use. We kind of know that teams have this, but yet tell the viewers about the whole you know, how it came to be. Because you're
Yep.
what, y- year 4 or 5 now?
No, this is year. Well, it's been 8 years since I started it. We really launched in 2019, so call it seven. Um,
7.
yeah,
Okay. So it was pre-COVID then. Wait.
it
Yes.
was. So it was a challenge because we were just getting off the ground, and then there was COVID, and then there was a lockout, and then it was like, okay,
Okay.
what's we had no normal years there for a couple of, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so I got laid off from a job in 2018. I had some time on my hands, and I'm an Oakland A's fan. Well, no, wherever they are. But there was a site called Athletics Nation, and I was posting and contributing to, and I was really interested in the topic of trades, and in particular how they figured out it was fair. Now, being an A's fan, if you grow up them, you know like the history there with the Billy Bean transactional mode. He was always making bold trades. I'm like, how did he figure that out? And so you just sort of it comes with the territory if you're really invested in like because if you're going to root for a team and you know they're going to be trading a lot, you gotta like dig in a little bit and figure out is that good. And so like it just started calculating well how would they figure this out, and then one of the other sort of posters said it's all about surplus value. And so for fans who don't know, surplus value is really just a sort of a fancy term for bang for the buck. It's basically the value you create over and above the value of your contract. So if you're, if you're getting paid 20 million and you really should be getting paid 30 million, you got 10 in surplus. Like if you were to somehow become a free agent and test the market and you would get 30 but you're only getting paid 20, then you have a surplus of 10 as a very simple example. The trick of it is how you calculate those numbers, and particularly the first one, which is what we call field value. Like what would they get if they were a free agent? We call that field value, the value of their production on the field, and not just in present tense, but future as well. Like what are they projected to do over how long a period of time? A year, 2 years, 5? How much control does the team have? And that adds to the value because it compounds it typically. And so you have to figure out what is that number, and then you have to subtract the what is the salary number if they're on a fixed contract. Did they sign as a free agent? And so you know that. Or if you don't know that, if they're a younger player, and the way that works is they get kind of 3 years at league minimum and then 3 years of arbitration, so it scales up. So you have to calculate all that. So it's basically A minus B equals C, but you have to calculate A, and then to some degree you have to calculate B, and there's your number, there's your surplus value number. And so we use that as the basic framework. And my friend at Athletics Nation was right, because we found as we tested it that that's the basis of most trades. And most fans don't realize that at first because the construct for most fans is good player for good player. I asked a buddy of mine when I first thought of starting the site, and he's a Mets fan, and like, okay, who would you trade at the time? Jacob DeGrom was the hot arm. Like, who would you trade Jacob DeGrom for? And he said Aaron Judge, because he's thinking, of course, superstar for superstar, right? Which makes perfect sense. But the reality is far more complicated than that, and you got to figure out the contracts and the years of control. So we do all of that math, basically. And we're basically providing a window into the black box of what the teams use. And that's been validated because one of our guys actually was hired by a major league team recently. When we first started the site, I had GMs or assistant GMs contact me saying, "Hey, basically they were implying, yeah, you kind of are doing what we do." And so what they said was, we use you as kind of a gut check. Like we have our own people, and I knew that, right? They have their own people inside. They have their own models. They have their own numbers. And so but in talking to former GMs and current, what they say is, you know what, they're a little bit paranoid. Like, are we right? Because they're just sort of in their own little bubble. And so they use us as kind of a gut check, as a second pair of eyes, which I appreciate. So we've got a whole bunch of teams subscribing to our site, I think for that reason. So we were flattered when they stole one of our guys. So we're like, okay, well, that's validation.
Well, how
But my point is, it's based on surplus value, and we're on the right track. So it's not just good player for good player. It's good player minus their salary, basically.
Yeah. I just went on a hike with my son today, and I was telling him about I was going to talk to you tonight, and I always thought about it as like a triad. You have how good the player is, how long you have that player, if
Yeah.
it's a rental, and then what's the salary? If you think of it as those three,
Yeah.
they're doing college level math right now with variables and stuff like that. You have three variables. It's not just the value. It's not just how good the player is, like you said, and but I think your ability to quantify it has been awesome. And so let's. How about I'm going to share my screen, John, and you walk me through. We're going to go. Let's go to the front page, and and we'll kind of. I mean, I kind of like every part of the site as far as the simulator and oh wait, that's the trade boards. So like, just go to the front page. I guess is the front
Yeah.
page the trade. Oh okay, front page. You got your yeah. I just listened to your podcast yesterday, and then you have the different parts. You have your featured trades, whatever. But yeah, how about you drive and then I'll click then.
Yeah. So when you come to the homepage, so the most popular feature is the trade simulator, which is why you see that link on the top left, and that's what everybody uses to create the mock trades. And they use our values as a kind of a means to do so. So you could go into that trade simulator, select your team and whoever your favorite team is, or whoever you just want to play around with. I'm an A's fan. You're a Pirates fan. We could figure that out if you wanted. So
Yeah, yeah.
they're probably not great partners, but
No,
since we're in,
I don't think what they are, but sorry, I gotta move some windows out of here that I don't think
yeah,
but there's the surplus column that John was talking about. There's and that's how I always sort the values by. So for us
right.
Pirates, Connor Griffin has the most surplus because we have what's that field value? Is that AF is your field value? Yeah.
That's the A stands for adjusted, which means adjusted for a variety of factors that I can
Okay.
get into. But basically,
And
that's that
then
field review.
and then the salary and years of control, and then you have your low, median, high as far
Right.
as value. So where's your A's? Probably what Kurtz would be your high man.
You're right.
Yeah, Kurtz and Jacob Wilson, and son of our not late, former Pirates
Yeah.
shortstop Jack Wilson. So, but yeah. So if we wanted to set up a Pirates A's trade, we would just pick a player. Like I said, we don't match up super well because we're both in the playoff hunt here. We're probably both seeking who. What are the A's looking for? Relief pitchers and
They're looking for any pitching because that's been the weak spot. The lineup's pretty good. You got
oh yeah,
Kurt and a bunch of other guys, but the pitching has been really sketchy. So like,
yeah, yeah.
whatever. They could, you could dangle, maybe Mitch Keller if you wanted to see what you could get for him, and the A's would be like, all right, well, he's a warm body, he's a veteran.
Yeah. I
I know
mean,
we're reaching here, but that's basically what you could do.
no, but so okay, so that's the simulator where, and then another thing is the Pirates had a very I don't say famous, but we had a three-team trade in the offseason. It was, we sent the Astros Mike Burrows, and then the Astros sent two prospects that I don't think either had made their debut yet. If not, one had just got a cup of coffee. Pretty highly ranked prospects to the Rays, and then from the Rays sent us and Brandon Lau, Jake Mangum, and Mason Montgomery. And probably if I would search this, I should have pulled it up ahead of time. Don't you or Josh, like when there's an actual trade happen, don't you put it on the trade boards somewhere?
Yeah, I'm typically the one doing that, but sometimes our users beat me to it. And I'm like, okay,
Yeah,
I'll
so
just
let's see. Is there a quick way to search for that? Probably not. Oh, real trades. Look at that. Ha ha. Look at you guys. Think of everything. So, Jake Mangum. Let's see.
yeah.
No, did I spell it wrong? Who would be the easiest guy of that trade to spell? Mike Burrows, probably.
Yeah.
Urrows. Burrows, maybe. Burrow.
Oh, you know what? I probably didn't mark it as real. That's why it's not coming up at the time because somebody else put it up, and I should have done
Oh, somebody beat you to it.
that.
Yeah, but I don't want to spend too much time looking for it.
Oh,
But
there you go. I think you just
right here, it is. Here's the real trade.
there you go.
And it looks like, per your model, the Astros paid a little too much. Or John,
Yeah.
has the values are the values like set in time?
Yeah. That's the
Okay, so
moment in time.
these
Right.
were the values at the time.
Right.
Gotcha. And Brandon Lau was low because he had a contract and he was dinged up the last couple years.
Right.
Mangum was kind of a, slap. It was pretty much what he was, but not much track record. And Montgomery was at, whereas Melton and Brito were the big time prospects.
Right.
So and Burrows was an established, fourth starter with 5 years of control or whatever.
Right. Right.
So it looked like the Pirates got the least because just what 4 plus 2, 8. They received
Right.
8. They sent out 18.
Right.
So they supposedly overpaid, and I guess who would have under or
He's got the best deal.
Ray supposedly got the best deal based on this, and that's kind of their MO. They often do. I haven't followed what Melton and Brito have done this year. Burroughs has not had a good year,
Right.
but pitching in that Minute Maid isn't the easiest place in the world. So that's a really good example of how the simulator work, which is one of the probably is it the most popular tab on the
Oh,
site,
for
John?
sure.
Oh
For
yeah.
sure. That's kind of what we're
Okay.
known for. Yeah.
Yeah, and then these are easy to share. And also another before I get too far, where was the actual trade? Now, this one didn't get voted on too much, probably because of the different franchises, which franchises follow you more. But like somebody gave the Astros a thumbs up, somebody gave the Rays a thumbs up, somebody gave the Pirates a thumbs down. So, but
Well, you look at that one to the right.
yeah, right
That one
here.
is probably the version that I featured, which is why you see so many more votes.
Okay, yeah. So this is the one that, yeah. So look, yeah, the Astros hated it, the Pirates loved it, the Rays loved it. Well, there you go. But yeah, so that's the simulator part of it. Now, how about let's talk about the value timelines and then the extension stuff. So I
So
guess
if you click on value timelines, it basically shows you it's going to default just as an example of Jordan Alvarez, and that's fine. You can scroll down. It shows you kind of how his value has changed and what it's projected to be. Like he's currently under control through 2028, so that's 2.5 years. And you can kind of just like hover over and see at any point in time, what his surplus value is. And that illustration is kind of the green line at the top is the field value, and the orange line at the bottom is the salary. And so you see the surplus value visually there as it changes through time and
yeah.
through the end of 27.
Yeah, so it
So
looks like so this the surplus there is if you would try to trade Jordan today on your simulator,
yep.
his surplus would be 66.6. But then so then if you're trying to match up, like we saw, well, Pirates aren't trading Connor Griffin, but like I'm saying, if the Pirates wanted to trade for Jordan Alvarez, they'd have to have prospects and players to add up to
Right.
approximately
Right.
66 million before the model would accept it. Uh, and I'll be honest, I feel like the more established players, it's almost easier to calculate. Some of the prospects, I find it commendable how you guys can find like who are you? There was just a small trade that you talked about in the podcast this week where there were players that were like 2 and 5 that were traded for each other, and but like it's they always seem to kind of even out from both sides. So I guess the teams are legitimately using the same type of models, even if it gets smaller. Like I feel like I could come up with Jordan's from the back of the envelope math, in a way, and but some of the small ones. But how about let's talk through an extension, John. I was thinking, so the Pirates have fallen in love with Brandon Lau, right? Almost like
Yeah.
another Brian Reynolds, quiet, soft spoken, left-handed, not switch hitting, but puts the ball over the fence. So the Pirates are talking about, can we keep him? Can we keep him? Well, he keeps playing better. It's going to get more expensive. But so I guess explain the difference between future free agent value and future extension. I guess is
Yeah.
extension when they're a pre-arb kind of guy.
Well, no, not necessarily, but that means you might want to click on that because I remember there's a rule that we put in place. Yeah, because he's too close to free agency, so he wouldn't get extended now.
So
You'd
it'd
have
be a
to
free
click
agent.
on free agency to show
Okay.
what he would get.
Okay.
So that's kind of, and then you can toggle through the future years. You want to give him a 2 year deal, it costs you pretty close to 30
I
if
think
you want
yeah,
to.
and I think
Yeah,
two or three podcasts ago, you and Josh actually discussed Lau, how
yeah.
he's getting close to 3 year territory. In your humble opinion,
Yes. So he'd get basically a 3 year, $45-ish million deal. Part of the reason for that is his age. Part of the reason for that is his injury history. He's been banged up here and there. He's clearly a good offensive force, and he also doesn't play a premium position. Second base is typically sometimes you just stick a guy there because you want his batting lineup, and
yeah,
so he's not like a superstar, so he's not going to get superstar money, but he is a very productive player. So that's all things considered about what he would be worth in free agency if you wanted
yeah.
to plan on that.
So for the different tabs, free agents because he's within a
Because
year.
he's getting close to that, yeah. So we have, the extension one is really something that they do in the off season. So once the off season ends, they're typically not extended because at
Okay.
that point, the player, from their point of view, is like, I'm so close to free agency, I'm going there. So that's typically how it works.
Did you and Josh happen to look to see how close you were with Connor Griffin's extension?
Yes, yes. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. I could go into our spreadsheets and logs and
Yeah. Oh, you don't have to if we're real
okay.
quick. But hey, how about brag for a second? I just heard you list your stats. So last trade deadline, how close were you guys on all your valuations?
Very close. So there were. I just put an article up about just sort of reminding people how we
Oh
do the
yeah,
last year.
I
Typically,
think I
we
have
were.
it.
Yeah,
So
there were. I think there were 64 total trades in the month leading up to the deadline, and we got 57 of them right, basically for about 88%, including a whole bunch of big names. The Carlos Correa trade, the Mason Miller trade, a bunch of other ones. Um, and they typically fall within that range, like 85 to 90ish percent in terms of like accepted by the model as within a normal range. It tends to be kind of a bell curve. So most of them fall kind of in the middle of the bell curve. Any statistician would say, yeah, that's typically how things work. And so, yeah, I'm just sort of reminding people
yeah, here
overall.
what you
Yeah,
said you were 64 trades. You get 57 of them right. Hit
yep,
rate of 88%.
yeah,
Some of the biggest ones accepted by our model was Correa, Mason Miller, Josh Naylor, Duran, O'Hearn, Bader, whatever.
yep.
So
And,
yeah,
and then I did make that paragraph just below that where it talks about Brian McMahon and Brian Hayes.
yeah,
Those were rejected by our model as not great, not close enough to fair. And sure enough, time has shown that we were probably right. Like in those
yeah,
cases, the Yankees probably should have listened to us because we knew Ryan McMahon really couldn't hit much outside of Colorado. We knew Brian Hayes couldn't hit at all, even though he has a good
yeah,
glove. He's always
yeah,
getting injured. So like that was a bad trade for the Reds, great trade for the Pirates. But so it feels like even when we're a little bit off, there's always a couple that are like, yeah, see,
yeah,
you should have, yeah, you
yeah.
should have checked
Oh
this.
yeah. I mean, I'm a Pirates fan, so well. First, I really liked Brian Hayes as a person. We got to see him in Altoona. He was really nice to our kids. But like as far as the trade goes,
Yeah,
we got rid of a player, I believe, on the downward slope that had a
yeah.
bigger contract. And the guy that we got, John, this Sammy Stafura, he's
Oh, yeah.
turning out to be a legit prospect. He actually, I just posted on X, the draft year, the Skenes draft year. I guess it was 23. He was ranked ahead of Rock Chalowski coming out of high school. Rock Chalowski that everybody thinks should be the first pick in the draft. But he went, he got drafted by the Reds and he's been playing his way up through the minors and he's now in high A, hitting very well as I don't know. I guess he'd probably be 21 right now. So yeah, so we might have really won that trade, but.
Oh, for sure. Hands down.
Yeah, yeah. So, but yeah, no, that's yeah. It sounds like you guys, in addition to having the reassurance from the teams that basically use your model, or have their own model, and then idiot check it with your model. The fact that you guys keep every you know trade deadline or off season, your trades are real close. So it's a very good. And then how
Yeah.
often do you guys refresh your model? Is it
So we update weekly, typically on Thursdays. As we get closer to the deadline, we're going to increase that frequency to twice a week, 3 times a week as it really gets close. So, this is during the season, obviously. In the off season, you know, it's a little bit less often because there's not as much activity other than trades and free agent signings. So,
yeah.
we will update as those and then also as the numbers change, as we shift into a new year, the projections start to kind of formulate what the next year looks like. So
Yeah,
there are a
this is
few. So during the off season, we update from time to time as needed, basically. But during
no.
the season, it's weekly until it's really close, and then it's more than that.
Well, I just heard an interview with Ben Sherrington, the Pirates GM, where he doesn't think they're going to engage in many trades before the draft. So maybe this new draft date um, kind of will have the beginning of trade season. Like once the draft's over, that's will be the
Yeah,
official trade season. July. What's the
yeah,
All Star game? This
yeah.
week? Is it this week or the draft is this weekend?
So
Yeah.
yeah, so the 11th and 12th, I believe, is the draft, and then
Yeah, yeah.
All Star
So,
game is with the
so then
14th.
the trades will pick up there, but
So yeah,
um,
like then all of the focus in the front offices are like, I mean, it's not like they haven't focused. They've already been talking to each other and laying some groundwork. But the problem is there's so many sort of teams on the bubble that it's hard to really say at this point who are the sellers and who are the buyers.
yeah,
There's a few key. We talked about this in our last podcast. There's a few obvious sellers at this point. There's a few obvious buyers, but there's a whole bunch of teams in the middle. So they got to
yeah,
pick a lane at some point. And so they're waiting and waiting until it's a little bit more clear.
no, yeah, and I did want to one more thing since I'm probably going to share this with a lot of Pirates media, Pirates people. Our Paul Skenes, we have like an annual discuss or not annual, probably like weekly. How much will it take to keep Paul Skenes? So he's
Now see that now the extension value
so that
should
is extension
yeah,
value. So
there you go.
now
Because
I
he's a
don't.
candidate.
Yeah, so I don't believe it'll be a 5 year contract. So,
Nope.
but I don't know. Yeah, what Yamamoto's was 10.
Yes.
So I think that's got to be the beginning there. So if the user or the viewers didn't realize, back when it was a shorter contract, the average annual salary was more, which makes sense. So I think a Pirate fan would argue that if they could do this, they would do this in a heartbeat. So it's the
Yep.
question is would he sign for only 10? And I guess that's something your model can't predict how many years the player would actually sign.
No, I know. It's a you know, other like journalists and things will try to take a stab at it, but we just sort of feel like there's too many variables, and so what we're trying to do is give you an idea of what it would cost based on the length of the contract,
Hmm.
and so we feel like, and plus it's more fun to toggle around with like, oh, it was 10 years, it'd be this, it was 5 years, it'd be that, and so we felt like that was a better way to go.
Yeah.
'Cause, yeah, there are too many variables there to predict that. One thing I will point out is sort of team specific. Like we're modeling for an average team in the marketplace. So the Yankees or Dodgers might pay more, for example. The Brewers or Rays might pay less, and so we're sort of split in the middle. So, so you could see, you might, if you went team specific, that number might go up to 400 or ish
Yeah.
for Yankees Dodgers kind of team. Yeah,
Yeah. And to be honest, I think he becomes a free agent at the age of 27, I
yeah,
think. So like he could sign this 10 year and still get another couple,
yeah,
a couple Scherzer type contracts on the tail end too if he wanted to. But I think
yeah,
he's obviously a different bird, so I'm not sure he thinks like totally just about dollars and cents. It's pretty much
yeah,
about
yeah.
winning.
Just for fun, Mike, if you could
Yes, sir.
try the lower numbers just to see the difference in AAV, because obviously the shorter the contract, the more the AAV is going to go up.
Yeah, it's
So it's
going up.
at 5 right now as a minimum because he's still in his counting this year. There's 3
Oh
years.
yeah, because we're still counting 3 RB years here. This
Yeah,
isn't
yeah,
this
yeah.
isn't
So
five
this
years.
is basically saying the minimum you would at this point in time, the minimum would be a 5 year extension because you still got to cover those years that you already have control of. If that makes
Yeah.
sense.
I don't know what the understanding is between the Pirates and him as far as engaging in extension talks, but I think he definitely, I mean, he probably had all the leverage as soon as he walked in the door. So,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, I mean, I think the rest of the league, if I'm reading the tea leaves right, are salivating over him, and I think he knows that, and his agent knows that, and so it's he's probably just going to wait it out until free agency.
well, the other thing is like if we go back to the trade simulator, like coming up with the trade for him is hard. Because how
Yeah,
many teams have the value? I mean,
right.
maybe current Dodgers farm system, maybe current Brewer. Well, we're not going to trade within the division, but like to come up with a team that can. And I was looking. You do have somewhere on the website that shows how much each team has in the minors and in the majors as
Yes.
far as value. So like a hundred surplus.
Hmm.
That could crush a whole team's farm system. So.
Yes. But
But
Juan Soto was well into the hundreds when that trade
yeah,
with the Padres originally happened. Yeah, so
no,
it's not
yeah,
unprecedented.
no. It's super fun to play around with. I encourage users to. There's different tiers of membership. I do it's like the GM, or it's the one that lets me do everything. But even the basic membership that lets you play around with the trade simulator is a blast. And I also like how you have the competitive balance picks on here now, which I
Yeah.
guess is not on the front page for the Pirates because yeah, we got competitive balance round A is worth 5.
Hmm.
Has the industry told you that's a pretty good for round A 5 is pretty
Yeah,
accurate?
the thing is though, it's a little bit different each year depending on the draft class, and it's hard to anticipate that. So we use kind of we looked at the overall averages over the years, and we looked at how many of those picks were traded and kind of what their range was. And so the comp A is typically, and it went up a little bit. It was like 4-ish last year. Now it's 5. Um, so it's a little. To be honest, there's a little bit of guesswork because it's there's not a whole lot of data, but we went with the best we could. Fangraphs does a really good job of estimating kind of where that pick would fall in terms of like the 33rd pick in the draft or whatever
Hmm.
would typically be like a 40 plus in their rating system, which is typically. But then there's difference between pitchers and hitters, and so if you split the difference between like a 6 for a hitter and a 4 for a pitcher, because pitchers have more risk, that's where we end up at 5 typically. That's the long and short of it.
Gotcha. Well, we're kind of running close to what where we said we were going to talk here, but one thing I wanted to throw out there for you, since you have basically everybody in the majors and the minors through, I mean through the FC. I mean, do you have any of the like the DSL prospects in here?
If they're on a reputable outlets, prospect list, then we
Okay,
do.
I guess yeah. If
Yeah.
someone has flagged them for baseball fans and yourself as far as like this person is
Yep.
worth, and then they come stateside pretty quick if they're that good.
Yeah, so
But
there's 18-year-olds on. There's one right there,
oh
Jesus
yeah,
Gravity. So,
yeah, that's who what the guy we got back from the Red Sox when we got the password. We got the password and Trovioso for what's his name? Whose name I can't come up with right now. The big starting pitcher Oviedo, Johan
Oviedo,
Oviedo.
right? Yeah,
But something that I always found as I don't call it an issue, but I live close to a double A stadium. I live close to the Pirates double A team in Altoona,
okay.
and I'm a baseball junkie. I I know who's coming to town. I know who the other team represents, and I
Yep.
know if there's a prospect on those teams that I should at least get my eyes on if he's 20 miles away and, I can go buy a, $5 ticket and see. I mean, earlier in the season that Franklin Arias, who's now going to be, I mean, he's top 5 prospect on most outlets for the Red Sox. I went down and saw him play in Altoona and yeah, he's going to be a star. But I follow baseball hard and I follow the minors hard. So I was able to go down there I bet you we could come up with a pretty quick little, way to use the minor league season. And I guess you don't know exactly where on your page what affiliate everybody's at. You know their value.
Yes.
If there's the Pirates. Let's go back a screen. Edward Florentino is one of our big prospects,
Right.
and his value is 39, which for
Yep.
a 19-year-old that's pretty freaking good.
Yep.
And everybody knows about Seth Hernandez. Seth Hernandez is so like it would be cool if we could let the people in Greenville, South Carolina know when Seth Hernandez and Edward Florentino are coming to town, just
Yep.
so they can. And you have all the values. If we could find a way with like minor league baseball and whatever to, and then and be like, hey, fans, you should go see.
Right.
And well, the pitchers you'd have to know which night they're throwing, but the
I
position
see where.
players,
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
you got six. Well, they normally sit one day, but you'd have 5 of the 6 days that you could probably go see this person. And
Yeah.
if
Yeah, I totally get what you're saying. And in August, typically we vacation in Florida, my family, and I have three sons, and they're really into baseball, and so we go see the Detroit affiliate, and I think it's low A, actually,
Lakeland,
the Lakeland Flying Tigers, right?
yeah.
And last year they were playing the Pirates affiliate, so we saw Florentino a
Oh,
couple
there
of
you
days.
go.
And
There
so
you
I'm
go.
there saying, "Hey, Florentino's got some really high value." Like, what's his value? So I'm looking it up. So like,
Yeah, no, yeah, no, because it's. I mean, not the minor league baseball is better than Major League Baseball. It's just
right,
more approachable, and you might. I mean, I've talked to a lot of the players, and not that I'm not an autograph hound. I just. I like, especially when I know something about them, ask them about, hey, did you get a chance when you were growing up in Chicago to play against this other Chicago ball player, And it's just it's fun to talk baseball with these folks. But John,
for sure.
this site is tremendous. It provides countless amount. And what's funny is like this, doing baseball, Twitter and stuff. That's not my day job. But this isn't even your day job. Like this is a very big side hustle. So. You said, okay, one of your guys got brought over to MLB. Do you have a couple people on your staff right now?
Yeah, there's Josh and there's two guys who we use to kind of work the data and always
Okay.
update the formulas. And if we wanted to try a new idea and always improve the model, they're working on that. In fact, one of their guys used to be an intern for the Pirates, so
Oh, there you go.
yeah, yeah.
There
So
you
he
go.
has that insight as well.
That's
So
super.
yeah. So we try to stay connected as much as possible, and we do talk to teams, like I said. Every now and then they'll ask us questions, and we'll ask them questions back. Well, how did you figure this out? Like, how did you? So it's a little bit like when you're in school and you're sharing, and you're like, what did you get? And so like, that's fun.
That's super fun. And break a leg this trade value season,
Thanks,
and
buddy.
for all of those people that don't follow John on Twitter, it's what is it? Trade values at trade values.
It's we have to shorten it to baseball values on Twitter.
Baseball values.
Yeah.
Baseball values on Twitter, and yeah, go to the website, and yeah, I have it bookmarked on my phone. I just put the icon down there on the front page when I want to play around and go through a trade simulation, and yeah, search. You guys can search my trades too, balls and gutters. I'm on there every trade season, every off season, just trying to figure out what we can get. And I'll be honest, I feel like I think like our GMs because I'm looking for weird ways to get surplus values, like the Lau one where they had a little bit of a contract, so we were able to not give as many because I'm
Yep.
greedy with prospects in my mind. Like we small market teams, we gotta cling onto those things like crazy. But thanks
Yeah.
for giving me your time here, John. I appreciate it, and maybe we'll talk again in the off season sometime.
Happy to do so. And Mike, thanks for all your support over the years. I know you were one of the first ones that sort of jumped on our site and we talked a little bit, so I appreciate the support
Oh
from way
no.
back.
Hey, it was a great idea, and you fall. I think a lot of people come up with good ideas, but it takes that to follow through on it and do it. It takes a little bit of effort, and you got a great product, and I think the proof is in the pudding. So, but thanks
Thank you.
again, and then we'll talk again. Have a good night.
Yep. You too.